A bit of levity here as well. Senator Leyonhjelm, good morning.
Good morning.
Now listen. So you think these Aussie submarines should be made in Eastern Creek? Let me tell you, he's had a bit of fun, this bloke. He made a speech last night in which he said that the Penrith muffler shop owner Ferret could be making our submarine-shaped vessels for much less than $1 billion, he said, and he could cut costs by constructing them out of aluminium. He said the subs should have furry dice made of Goldman merino wool, noisy V8 engines, and bumper stickers commemorating various B&S, Bachelor and Spinster balls, and reminding foreign invaders to F off, we're full. He said to make it completely Aussie, I propose the whole Eastern Creek Submarine Corporation be overseen by Dick Smith. He said there are only two kinds of Australians, people who live in New South Wales and people with a chip on their shoulder. And he joked that he wanted a plebiscite to see if Ford or Holden should manufacture the engines, and he mocked senators like Nick Xenophon and Jackie Lambie for calling for their states to benefit from some of the submarine building work. He said, let's face it, vocational options for people in some of the states they represent are limited to working for a senator or picking up roadkill. He said, who among us doubt if we put submarines into the wrong hands, Senator Lambie may try a sneak attack on Bondi Beach, or South Australia could become the Republic of Xenophonia. None of this is about good submarines, he said. The most important reason to adopt my modest proposal is that Western Sydney is home to around 1 million voters, and isn't that what this is all about? It's very clever stuff, Mr. Leyonhjelm. Well, are you going to get the bill in Western Sydney?
I don't think so. I just embarrassed them a little bit and make them think about what we really need, good submarines or jobs in South Australia. That seems to be most of what the argument's about. Yes,
I think your point was, if it's about votes, then why not Eastern Creek? Because there's 1 million votes out there.
Exactly right. Yes, if we're going to spend $50 billion on submarines and the purpose is to win seats, why not go where the votes are? Exactly.
Now that's the levity. This serious stuff here, this is making people think, because we do seem to introduce laws, don't we, at every turn to control other people's behaviour.
Yes, we do. Actually, almost everybody I speak to has got an example of where they think the government's gone too far, just intrusions into our life. But what I find also interesting is that they will then say, oh, but it's all right in another area. There's no sort of joining of the dots saying, the government just goes too far and there are some principles at stake here. Mm-hmm. That's one of the things I hope to highlight with this inquiry.
You said, I want to change the culture that the government is there to protect us from poor choices. I mean, you go to other countries in the world, and just recently I was in Greece, and we're sitting at a coffee shop, and I'm like, vroom, up the road, he's on his motorbike, and he doesn't have a helmet on because it's his responsibility about whether he's going to be injured or not, isn't it?
That's right. I ride a motorbike. I would wear a helmet no matter what, whether it was a legal obligation or not. But it does raise an interesting question. Should the government have anything to do with protecting me from myself? Now, some people will say, well, if you do bash your head, you'll end up in hospital and everybody else will end up paying for you via our sort of socialised health system. My response to that is, well, how far do you want to take that? If you think that we're all responsible for other people's poor choices because we share the health cost, then, it's not a big step to say, well, you're not allowed to eat chips and you're allowed to have 1.5 drinks, but 2's going too far. And if you don't do your 10,000 steps of exercise every day, we'll come along and prosecute you, that sort of thing. It's a formula for intrusion, and where's the limit? If you don't draw a line, where's the limit?
Well, tobacco's classic, isn't it? It is a legal product.
Correct.
So where does the nanny state fit in there? The poor shopkeeper has got to hide his product. Then we've got to build different packets where there's nothing on the front of it. It's a nonsense. It's a legal product.
It's based on disapproval predominantly these days. In the beginning, you could argue the state had a responsibility because secondary smoke had the potential to make people sick. So puffing smoke in people's faces, if they didn't want to be in a situation of copping that, you could say, well, the state had a responsibility to avoid that. But it's gone way past that these days. We've now got rules where you can't smoke within 10 metres of various locations. You can't smoke in bus stops. And there's absolutely zero.
And no one to monitor it. No one monitoring this.
Well, no, enforcement's a joke. That's right. But but we have absolutely no chance of anybody being injured by it. It's all based on disapproval, and the same thing goes, of course, with the plain packaging. It's all based on disapproval, and the only justification that anybody ever offers is, but you're costing other people money because of the health system. Well, you could have a health system where you paid your own costs via insurance.
My word. That's not a stupid argument. That's another argument for another day. You talk about marijuana, which is controversial. You say it's not a drug of addiction, but there's a lot of evidence that affects public health. But you say, should people have the choice as to whether they damage themselves?
Yes. I don't smoke marijuana myself, and I admit I have done in the past, many years ago. But, there are now 3 states in America that have full recreational marijuana. There's about 25 that use it for permit it for medical purposes, which you and I have previously discussed. But recreational marijuana is permitted in 3 states. The sky has not fallen in. People have not all turned into zombies or something. It is possible to take a sensible approach to these things and live for another day.
But it's your point again. The government is not there to protect us from poor choices. I mean, swimming pool fences. Can you believe this? I mean, parents are responsible for their children, not the government. But no, you've got a swimming pool.
And yes, the point there, of course, is that it might be smart to have a swimming pool fence. It might be a wise thing to do. But is it okay for the government to say, if you don't have a swimming pool fence, we're going to prosecute you. You'll end up with a conviction, and you'll be fined. If you don't pay your fine, you might end up in jail. Is that really an appropriate thing for something?
Absolutely. Or is it appropriate to have a law which you can't police and therefore people are breaking it? And you made the point, okay, people are in their 50s. They've just been able to afford the swimming pool in the backyard. The house is fully fenced. You've got to spend $10,000 or more on a pool fence.
Yes, exactly right. It is one of my bugbears.
It is indeed, but I mean, there's a law, Senator Leyonhjelm, in New South Wales. It's against the law to ride a bike without both hands on the handlebars. But it's against the law not to put your right hand out when you turn right. Hey?
Actually, I didn't know that.
What? But you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, bicycle helmets are an issue we're going to look at very specifically with this inquiry. I mean, it is insane, and it has negative consequences as well. So not only is it silly, but people think that because you have to wear a helmet, it must be dangerous.
That's right.
Ride a bike.
Or alternatively, someone says about the swimming pool, well, hang on, Senator Leyonhjelm. Now, wait a minute. You don't have the swimming pool fence. A kid could come across the road and climb over the fence and get into the pool. Now, The answer to that is to say, oh, well, we better have a law to say that anyone under 18 can't cross a road.
Well, that's right. Indeed.
Where does it end? Instead of educating parents on the importance of teaching their children how to swim from an early age, and they will be safe.
That's right. And in the case of adults, accepting personal responsibility.
Yeah.
If you make bad choices, it's your fault. It's not anybody else's fault, and you will have to wear the consequences.
It's a very good point. We've got to get to that point. A certain independence in the way we behave, not a dependence. I mean, the swimming pool thing's a classic example, isn't it? Because the regulations are ridiculous. There'll be no footholds near the fence, no barbecue table, no chair, so nothing that they can step up on and get over the fence. Where the hell do you go with all of this?
Yes, well, I agree. Where do you go? I'm hoping the inquiry will sort of shine a spotlight on the silliness of some of these. We've chosen a few areas where we think they're fairly egregious intrusions into our lives.
But when I knew I was talking to you today, I went last night over some figures, and I could only get back to 2003, and I know that's some time ago, but in 2003 I noted that the Commonwealth and state parliaments in 1 year added 33,000 pages in new laws, rules and regulations in 1 year.
Oh, the government and opposition criticise each other on the basis that they haven't passed enough laws.
That's it.
I mean, it's insane. It's insane. If I was the government, I'd be so proud of the fact that I hadn't passed any.
That's it. You'd be proud. You don't need the parliament. Close the damn thing down and let people get on with their work. Like in Victoria, there are 69 state business regulators controlling 26,000 pages of business regulations.
Yes, it's over the top. It is absolutely over the top. Australia used to be seen as a happy-go-lucky, laid-back sort of a place. Everyone was pretty relaxed, so the story goes, the perception goes. We're not that anymore.
There's a law in New South Wales, David Leyonhjelm, which limits the number and type of pets you can keep, even down to the number of budgies in your cage or the goldfish in your pond.
And you have to register your cats.
Yeah, you have to register your cat. And dogs are banned from most beaches, but even on beaches where they're allowed, it's an offence to chase a seagull. Oh, dear. It's the end of the week, Senator Leyonhjelm. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
All the best. It's 7:30.